Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Shark. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today we are wrapping up our discussion of Wolverine and the X Men by Jason Aaron. Uh, if you've been with us for a while now, we started with Astonishing Spider Man Wolverine, went through Uncanny X Force, and now Wolverine the X Men. This is kind of the end of our little trilogy here. It's been a fun ride. I've read all these previously, but these are all new to Caleb,
Yes.
and hopefully our viewers will check these out. But before we get to all that, Caleb, how you been doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I actually started playing Hades for the first time. I've never played Hades before, and it was on sale for 50% off on Steam, so I decided to buy it, and it is possibly one of the best games I've played in a long time.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people really like that game.
It's
I haven't played it myself, but I have seen people play
yeah,
it.
it's a roguelike, but it's got like this really in-depth story. Um, and it's got like these dating sim and relationship parts to it too, like, and it once you get into actual combat and gameplay of it, it is just an arcade game, but it comes into like an entire RPG once you like die and go back to the House of Hades. So it's a lot of fun. But other than that, I've actually in more of a personal life thing. I actually have recently gotten a personal trainer, and I'm on like week 3, and so I'm at the gym a lot, and I'm hurting, but it's like I feel good about it. So
Yeah, I started back with physical therapy last week, so I've been pretty sore also. So
I'm wanting. The goal is like a. I'd love to figure out a Nova cosplay and like make it not look stupid, because I see other Nova cosplays, and I'm not, cosplay. I probably shouldn't have started off with make it not look stupid, because Nova's a very simple character design,
mhm.
and there's not a lot to do with it. So like, what can you do with it but make it kind of look like spandex?
Yeah, and that helmet's kind of weird. So
Hmm.
um, as for me, I'm wrapping up watching The Prisoner. I've got like 2 episodes left. The show was really awesome, and then it's just fallen completely apart the last 3 episodes.
Which which one is this?
This is that '60s show I was watching about the spy who is trapped on an island and he can't escape. He resigned, and now they've trapped him on this island. Um, I'd heard a lot about it, so I was checking it out, and really cool show. And the last 3 episodes have just been bizarre mess. And so I was reading online that the star of the show, Patrick McGoohan, got in a fight with the head writer and fired the head writer. And you can tell the whole show is just falling apart at this point. Uh,
Gotcha.
so I've got 2 episodes left. I don't know how it's going to end. So I'll let you know next week. And then I've been playing Vampire Survivors again. There was an update, and they have really funny descriptions for the monsters in the game. And so one of the new monsters said that these were decayed, forgotten heroes, or not heroes, humans that were greedy in life. And then it says if you get close to them, you might hear them whispering, uh, "Please pay us 5 gold for every download of this game."
That's so funny. That is so funny. Is Vampire Survivor on Unity?
I think so. Yeah, I
That's
think
amazing.
I'm assuming, but yeah, that's that's really funny. So
I like the fact, because with that and the whole South Park thing, like people are starting to turn on the big wigs.
yeah,
Like
they
like
need
not
to.
not not the not like us, the people, but I mean like the people, like creators.
Yeah, they need to hold their feet to the fire. They're, people get pushed around too much, and I think it's awesome that people are fighting back. Um, so I haven't told you this yet, but next week I have a thing at 4:30 on Sunday. So it'll probably be a shorter show next week.
Okay.
Um, it may be fallout from the Disney call this week. I don't know what's going to happen. There's
Oh,
just
there's
a
another one of those.
yeah, and with the South Park stuff going on, with Marvel's coming out this week, it's probably going to be the worst opening ever for a Marvel film.
Mm-hmm.
Gina Carano's attacks, South Park, Spider-Verse. We might just kind of just do like a touch base with what's going on with Disney next week.
Yeah, I I kind of wish that Gina Carano didn't get involved. Um,
I think she's about to bring a lawsuit against them, the way she's been talking.
if that's what it is, then sure. But like if she's just, saying stuff and being petty about it, I'm like, oh, I kind of wish you would just.
I don't think she's being petty.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
what she is doing is I think that she probably has a non-disclosure agreement with what happened. And
okay.
so she's kind of saying, well, if you do this, this is probably what's going to happen. And she's kind of revealing what happened to her without saying this is what happened to me. She's kind of wording it in a weird way. She's like, oh, if South Park attacks them, this is probably what's going to happen to you. And then she's,
Oh,
you know, because
gotcha.
if you read between the lines, this is what happened to me. I'm not talking about this, but this is what happened to me.
Right, right.
So
Um, but yeah, like it's insane. I'm gonna watch the Marvels because the
oh,
streak must
Caleb,
streak must be kept.
the streak has to end sometime. You cannot keep giving these people money. It is
Listen, I already don't watch the TV shows. I think I'm doing good there. Although there's a part of me that like I liked Loki season 1, but everything I've heard about Loki season 2, I'm just like, oh, looks like they ruined that one.
Did you hear what they did last Thursday
No,
on the Marvel YouTube channel? They had I think it was like 6 hour stream of just cats. Like it
like
was a cat cafe, just like cats just play with yard and stuff.
I mean
And then,
that's great. Like
and then
that's that.
they were putting trivia for Captain Marvel across the bottom, and that was their advertisement for the Marvels film next week.
I mean, honestly, you could have just had like the cat cafe, like not even have the Marvel trivia, and like that would have been like the best thing that they put out in years. Just
But I mean,
video
it
cat.
was so low effort. It was
I mean, like,
it
you know
was
what's
like
weird?
it almost looked like a I don't know if you can say this on YouTube, like a snuff film, like you're filmed in someone's basement,
Yeah.
like just really low budget, and just
I
these
mean,
cats. And
do do they think that the cat is that popular? Because it's
did you
not.
see the poster they released?
Uh no.
Let me, let me find it. But yeah, it was ridiculous. A lot of us from WDW Pro stream got to the chat and were mocking it. Seeing how long it would take us to get banned from there. It was a lot of fun. Excuse me.
8 hour stream. Gotcha.
Yeah, it was so low effort, and it's kind of like this is a sequel to $1 billion movie, and this is how your your follow up.
Yeah. You know what I was doing the other day? And it's something that we probably need to go back to, but that is so dumb.
This is their official poster.
I mean, that looks like that like my brother made that.
It's so bad.
I
Have
mean,
you have you seen the meme about where it shows Don Cheadle, it shows him get recast as War Machine, that shows the two different cats from the two different movies say they Marvel's at again recasting actors.
That's funny.
Oh,
My God, like that's
it reminds me of was it the Three Wolves and the Moon meme or whatever? You know, the where they're howling at the moon. It's
the internet likes cats, right?
The Marvel Comics YouTube channel has been a mess for a long time. But yeah, it was getting like 200 viewers at a time.
So
the Cat Cafe.
are we confirming that there's going to be like in this movie there's going to be like a super powered Spectrum style cat with like a Pop Tart for a body who's just flying around the universe,
like Neon Cat or whatever.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, like
Yeah,
it's like a Pop Tart or something.
yeah, the rainbow coming out of it. Yeah, yeah. I've read the whole plot to this movie. It's really dumb.
Is the Beast thing real?
I mean, no one's seen it in any of the test screenings. You know, it's probably being kept secret, but I think they leaked that on purpose just to try to get some people to go see this movie. So yeah, I would say it's real. Because I do know at the end of the movie, Monica, spoilers for anybody who cares, ends up in the wrong dimension at the end. So the early spoilers said she was going to find her mom still as Captain Marvel in that dimension, but now apparently it's changed to Kelsey Grammer as the Beast.
You know, the farther we get into this, and like, and apparently, like the rumors for the Deadpool movie is it's them going around the universe trying to find the prime versions of each character to create like a multiverse Avengers. And that's why Tobey Maguire is going to be the star of Secret Wars, is because he's going to be the leader of them. And I don't know how they did it, but they've made me not excited for that idea.
Well, I think the TVA and Loki's kind of lame, and so if you are saying, "Oh, Deadpool 3 is going to be all about the TVA," I'm like, "Oh, I'm out."
I mean, that's one of 3 steps according to South Park. Make it lame.
Yeah.
One of 3 steps.
One of the 3 steps. The other thing I heard this rumor that about Secret Wars is that the plot is that Kang can beat the Avengers, he can beat the X-Men, he can beat the Fantastic Four as long as they're all separate. So that's why he split up the timelines. But if they all come together as one force, then they can defeat Kang.
That's so dumb. I hate that. Like that means absolutely nothing.
So buckle up. And you know, Jonathan Majors has got all his legal problems, so they don't even know if he's going to be Kang going forward. And apparently,
I know they mentioned some. I've heard rumors. Apparently, those rumors have been squashed. That, you know, at one point they were considering shifting to Doctor Doom instead of Kang, which I'm like, oh man, maybe go ahead and make that shift.
Well, the rumor I had heard is that you're going to have Kang and what was the Avengers movies called, the Kang Dynasty or whatever. And then that Kang was going to get defeated, and then you're going to meet like the ultimate Kang that would be the Beyonder in Secret Wars. And I'm like, I'm already sick of Kang. We haven't even got, you know, they've just, I mean, look how they did Thanos. You had a cameo at the end of Avengers, cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then boom, you know, I think that was it. They just jumped into Infinity War and Endgame. And that's all you needed. But we've had Kang like everywhere, and I feel like everything's gotten delayed with, you know, the pandemic, and then
I'm done blaming the pandemic.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying though is the combination of the pandemic and the strike is we've been talking about Marvel Phase 4 and 5 for like what 5 years now. It's been so stretched out, and I mean, obviously the TV shows are setting up the Young Avengers and the Thunderbolts, but it's taken so long to get to them. That's like, who cares at this point? I'm sick of these characters.
It's almost as if you shouldn't make your movies to set up other things. It's almost as if you should just make good movies and then people will be satisfied.
Yeah. And also, you shouldn't run off all your creators like the Russo brothers and your James Gunns. And
I gotta know what happened to the Russo brothers, because like James Gunn, that's obvious what happened. But like the Russo brothers, like I gotta know, like
I think they realized that Marvel didn't really have a plan. And so they're like, okay, we're out. Once y'all figure out Secret Wars, we'll come back. But
no. And here's the thing. I think that not having a plan is okay, but your plan has to be to make good movies, because let's be honest, there wasn't like a timeline that they had for phase 1, 2, and 3. They were just making good movies, sprinkling stuff in, and then let's be honest, it's a miracle that it all worked out in the end.
well, I mean, their timeline was, let's get to an Avengers movie.
Right, yeah.
And they did, and they go, oh, let's just put Thanos at the end. And they're like, oh, well, now we got to do something with Thanos. And then they just kind of built towards it. But yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's not this, because I think what they tried with 4, 5, and 6 is they tried to make something from the very beginning, and that's the problem.
and they picked the worst characters possible.
Yes.
Eternals and Shang-Chi, and just none of your A-tier heroes.
Right. And I stand by, Shang-Chi is like a great movie.
I still disagree with you, but that's okay. We agree to disagree on that.
But a Shang-Chi movie is kind of like your Doctor Strange in phase 3.
Right. If you had like, okay, here's phase 4, it's Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Shang-Chi, that would have been fine. But when you go, here's phase 4, it's Black Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi, Blade, and we might get to Fantastic Four one day. And it's like, what is this?
Yeah, essentially phase 4 was, so here's a Black Widow movie that doesn't matter because
Yeah, you already know she's dead. So
time has already passed. Then you have Eternals, which is boring as sin. You have Shang-Chi, which is pretty good, but you're not gonna make it like it's not gonna define phase 4. And then you have Black Panther without Black Panther.
Yeah. And I'll give credit where credit's due. Spider-Man: No Way Home was great.
Oh yes.
I think Werewolf by Night was great. I think there's one really great episode of What If, the Doctor Strange episode.
Yeah.
So I mean they do get it right every once in a while, but
I think Feige has to not be involved,
or he needs to be not the only one involved. Seems like he's controlling everything, and it's just like it's too much. It's out of control. Is he the new
George Lucas?
Were you saying that? Well, I mean, if you compare George Lucas, that after Empire Strikes Back, he kind of ran everybody off, and then you see that while Return of the Jedi is still a great film, there's a drop. There's things that change. There's quality drops here and there, and then it But even he took a break for several years. Kevin Feige's just been making these nonstop for a long time, and it's too much.
I saw an interview with him where he's talking about like, the old Marvel movies, I tried to give them advice and they didn't listen to me. I'm like, hey, I actually like those movies better than most of your movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's if you watch South Park, they're trying to make these super diverse movies and focus on that instead of so it was like trying to hit all the checklist points instead of trying to focus on why don't we give the audience what they want? Like, okay, let's take the Marvels. Ignore what you know about the Marvels. What if this was the plot to the Marvels?
Okay.
Uh, Nick Fury calls Captain Marvel in and says, "Hey, someone's going around taking out superheroes. They're all in comas. We don't know what's going on. There's a terrorist group. They call themselves the Brotherhood,
Okay.
and we need you to figure out what's going on." And so you get, largely Mystique and Rogue versus Carol Danvers, and in the movie of her losing her powers, and what do I do? Like, that's a interesting, exciting film.
Well, and it honestly, you could have that. What I would do is, because I know you said that could be like a post credit scene, but I think if you make that the movie, what you do is you like in the first act she loses her powers.
Well, I was thinking that at the end they capture all the Brotherhood, but they can't find Rogue. They're like, well, we'll find her one day, and at the end, Rogue jumps her at the end credit scene, steals her power. Then part 3 is Carol Danvers, the drunk, trying to get her life back together and try and get her powers back. And what do I do now that I was once the most powerful being in the galaxy, and now I'm nothing?
Mhm. Right. I mean, like, it's so Iron Man 3 did that. With him having to kind of work without his suit for most of the movie. And then, Ragnarok did that because, his hammer was destroyed. Uh, and it's, Spider-Man 2 does that
Yeah.
with him. Like, it is a tried and true classic storyline.
Yeah, I mean there are things that you could do to make this interesting, and instead we got, here's a movie where Carol
Cats.
there's cats, and Carol, it's a musical at one point, and Carol's married, and this and that, and you're just like, what is this?
Which is uh, it's very, because the fact that they made Carol get married, I question that with their motives, because I mean, isn't like
I don't know.
isn't getting married like kind of like anti-feminist at this point?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, that's
Yeah.
falling into the, because like the Barbie movie was very anti patriarchy, and so this would be going back to the patriarch. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I have to figure out how to say it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But yeah, I think we're about to see a colossal bomb here, and
And I'm gonna get my ticket for it. I'm gonna get my ticket for the bomb.
you you and the YouTube critics are the only ones to go to see this movie. It'll just be you and the people that have to see
Yeah.
it for their YouTube channel.
I mean, it's gonna be me. Like, we're all gonna be sitting in a row. Me, Jeremy Johns, Chris Stuckman. We're all gonna be holding hands, being like, "Don't worry, guys. This one's only an hour and a half." I mean, that's the thing. Like,
You and Mike Zero sitting there.
oh god. I mean, I am Thor Skywalker. I haven't seen you in a while. um, no, I'm actually really curious as to what they can accomplish in an hour and 30 minutes. Now, here's the thing. I'm a firm believer that you can accomplish a lot in an hour and 30 minutes.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of the greatest superhero movies of all time are animated and 70 minutes long.
How
But
long is
I want
how long is Mario Brother movie? It wasn't that long.
Oh no, not long at all. But
Yeah.
what I'm wondering is what they can accomplish in an hour and a half.
The other thing is, are
Um,
they going to recap anything from the Miss Marvel show or WandaVision or anything? Or are they just going to assume you know all these characters?
yeah, probably not. Hour 32 minutes Mario Brothers movie is.
Yeah. What a mess.
Yeah.
So what do you think happens after this? Let's say that let's say it makes like 40 million opening weekend. It's a complete bomb. Um, we know that they've scrapped Daredevil. They're reworking it.
I'm surprised that Echo's coming out.
I think they just have to show something on Disney Plus because they have nothing else because of the writer's strike.
It's not even gonna be because it's on Hulu too.
Yeah, and the fact that they're dumping all the episodes in one day it's not a good sign.
Yeah.
um, But I don't know if you saw the ratings, but so like the Ahsoka ratings are worse than Andor, and then the Loki ratings
Yeah,
are worse than Ahsoka.
I buy that. And,
So
you say that, I buy that. Keep in mind, I actually enjoyed Ahsoka,
yeah,
but I get it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a character that the mainstream does not know anything about. If you didn't watch those cartoons, you have no clue who Ahsoka
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Uh,
And also with those first two episodes, I think if you stick with the show catches you up. But
yeah,
those first two episodes are kind of rough.
yeah. So we're so they've got Deadpool 3 coming out. I think Captain America and is probably too far along. Probably Thunderbolts is too far along. But
Is it Thunderbolts? I've heard nothing about it.
so I don't know because it was supposed to be next summer or November, I want to say, but you know everything got messed up because of the strikes. Um,
I don't think they're making anything right now.
well, you know
I,
they filmed. No, I'm thinking of Captain America because I was saying that Red Hulk is in it,
yeah,
but
that's Captain America.
that's Captain America. But I think they're setting him up so he'll be in Thunderbolts. But I mean that's dangerous because Harrison Ford's not getting any younger. Uh,
I said that they should kill off Thunderbolt Ross in Captain America.
uh-huh.
And then the reason that they're called the Thunderbolts is in honor of Thunderbolt
Right.
Ross.
That would have made a perfect sense. You know who the villain of the Thunderbolts movie is, right?
Isn't it like Sentry or something?
Yeah, you know who's playing Sentry, right?
No.
It's Glenn from Walking Dead.
Really?
Yeah,
I could have thought of so many other. I love Stephen Yeun,
yeah,
but like I could I could give you so many other characters that Stephen Yeun can play better than Sentry.
yeah. It's a weird choice. I think maybe someone said, "Oh, he's played Invincible. Oh, we could cast him a Sentry also." You know, I think that was kind of the thinking behind the
I
scene.
mean, let me tell you who I always thought Stephen Yeun could play really well. I thought that Stephen Yeun would make a great Nightwing Dick Grayson. Like, like
Yeah, I
you
can see
could,
that.
yeah. I think it'd be so cool.
Yeah,
Um, but no. I mean, like, I mean, here's the thing. He's great, so I'm sure he will do great, considering what he'll be given. Like he will do his very best.
so
Uh,
let's go through what the remaining. We are way off topic tonight,
yeah, we haven't even.
but let's after this there's going to be a Doctor Strange 3. They have an announcement, but it's definitely happening because it's going to be the rest of the incursions of the universes colliding leading up to Secret Wars. They kind of set it up at the end of part 2 with Clea showing up, so we're getting that
And then
movie.
he's got the weird eye.
There's been lots of rumors about Eternals 2. I don't see that one
Nope.
happening.
No, I don't see it.
I think they had it on their plans, but I think with Nelson Peltz bringing down their neck saying you got to make hits, I don't see that one getting greenlit. But who knows? I mean, they greenlit Ahsoka season 2 and no one watched season 1, so Disney's so weird. We got Fantastic Four,
Do
which
we?
I was about to say it's in development hell. That the rumor was it was going to be a Sue Story focused story, which going back to South Park, Q Cartman.
Yeah.
Um,
Step one.
add a female, make it gay, make it lame. Um, let's see. Blade movie is
Nope.
I don't think is I think that what's the actor's name?
Mahershala Ali. I think that he's about
I,
to check out.
yeah, I think he's gonna walk from that project. I don't see that one going through
I
as it
mean,
is.
what do you expect to happen when you walk in and say, "Hey, let's make this movie"? Like that's not how it's supposed to work, you know?
Well, and then you're thinking, oh, I'm going to make a movie like Wesley Snipes did. And then they hand you a plot where, okay, so you've got this daughter and she's going to be the main character. You're going to trade her, and then we're going to kill you off, or we're going to, sunset you or whatever. What the heck?
Yeah.
And the movie doesn't have many fight scenes and this and that and all the other rumors I've heard about that. And we've been through several writers. And how hard is it to get a Blade movie right? He's a vampire hunter and he kills vampires.
It's so weird because they got Werewolf by Night so right.
Yeah, well, I think Werewolf by Night was so good because it was
Nobody
one
cared.
episode. Nobody was paying attention. They just let him do whatever. And I think Feige was looking the other way. They go, okay, here it is. They're like, oh, this is actually pretty good. and so I think they're like, oh, we can put Werewolf by Night in the Avengers and do this and that. And they'll ruin the character.
Yeah.
So, um,
They would put Din Djarin the Mandalorian in the Avengers if they could.
so after that, I think Spider-Man 4 will come out before Secret Wars.
I don't see Spider-Man 4 coming out.
I think Sony will force it. I think we'll get that before we get Secret Wars, and then we got the two Avengers movies that we know about.
I
Is and
part of me
and then we
thinks
got all
Tom
these
Holland's done.
then we got all these TV shows, Agatha and which
Those
is also
don't count. Like I don't even know.
musical, and yeah, I mean, to me, the best thing they could do is add a scene at the end of Deadpool 3 where Deadpool just kills Kang, just pushes him off a building, and then just say, "Oops, we trashed all that." Hey, there's an X-Men movie coming out next year. Have fun.
That would be that'd be so hard to keep under wraps though.
Well, I know, but the other problem is Marvel needs to stop announcing these movies 3 years in advance because they don't know what's going to happen. They get delayed forever, and then by the time they come out, no one cares.
Yep.
They could just say, "Hey, a Marvel movie's coming out, and you'll find out about it a couple years."
Yeah. I mean, like, here's the thing. I think that James Gunn did it because, like, he had to pitch to the fans. That's like, hey, I'm a good fit for this. But even then, he only announced 5 movies.
But even his movies are getting blown up. Like, I think they just delayed his not Howling Commandos, but whatever it is. I think that got delayed. His animated,
Right. Can't remember what it's called.
but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who knows when that Superman movie will come out? Because I don't think the actor strike will be over until beginning of next year. Because we're about to hit Christmas, so
I don't think anything's going to come of the actor strike.
Well,
I think the actors started off their strike in solidarity of the writers, and then the writers' strike stopped, and they just walked away from the actors. And I'm like, man, that's kind of a dick move.
well, the hang up is AI. Like, Nicolas Cage was like, yeah, they just did a CGI version of me in Flash, and they trashed everything I did. I think a lot of actors are getting sick of that.
Yeah.
And obviously that's the direction things are going. Like I've been saying for years that we're just a few years away from getting new Jimmy Stewart movies or something where they're just going to resurrect dead actors and say, hey, here technology's good enough. Here's a new, James Cagney movie or whatever. Bring back the old movie stars. I don't know. All right, so let's talk about X-Men.
Now that we're done talking about Marvel, let's move on to Marvel.
Yeah, and I realized for the last several months we've been talking about X-Men. This will be it for X-Men for a while.
Yes. So here's the thing. I know you said we should start next like in January. I think we could probably do the End and Thanos next month.
You think so? I was thinking of just doing something like the history of the Marvel Universe.
We could like for because this is kind of Pop Culture Shark Book Club at the beginning of the month.
Yeah,
we could just do an actual book. I know you finished one that we told you.
we could do Narnia. Because I'll have a month. It took me like a week to do Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. I could probably have most of those books done. And
if you could get Prince Caspian and Voyage of the Dawn Treader done, we could just do those 3.
Yeah, and I can get my buddy Daniel on that episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, so that'd be our Christmas plan
Yeah.
is Narnia. So
And then for next year, probably I don't know how long that saga is going to be, but I'm excited for it. We're gonna do Annihilation from beginning to end. I'm so excited.
and just to get back on the MCU thing, why are they not doing Annihilation? That is,
I
just,
don't want them to do it.
at this point I don't either. If it had just been right after Endgame, they're like, okay, we're doing Annihilation next, I would have been all on board.
Sure.
I mean, it's basically Starship Troopers with Marvel
I
characters.
know. I know.
It's so good.
But yeah, we're gonna like pretty much from Marvel Universe the end all the way to I think we said Thanos Imperative. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's basically the Abnett landing cosmic period. Basically, this is all the good stuff that they loosely base the Guardians of the Galaxy movies on. It's really good. You cut out a bunch of issues. We can talk about it later, but
yeah.
we might have to add some of those back in when we get into it. So we'll
Okay,
see.
okay. But as
So,
far as X-Men,
so
um,
just a quick recap: Wolverine, the X Men, Cyclops, and Wolverine have had a falling out. They've split the X Men into basically two groups. Wolverine has taken the younger students, started a new school. There's a group of Hellfire brats that are trying to destroy the school, and there is a young student named Brew who's a brood. And we last left off, he got shot in the head, and we don't know what was going to happen to him. And we're also coming off the heels of A versus X, where Cyclops killed Professor Xavier.
yeah, and Schism and Battle of the Atom happens in this. I got to be honest. So I really enjoyed Uncanny X Force because of how tight it was.
Yeah,
This is kind of all over the place. So
I agree, especially when you get to the second half here. You could tell that he is having to squeeze things into crossovers. The story keeps getting interrupted, and they keep taking characters away from him.
yes, so I love Jason Aaron, but I can't say I loved this.
I definitely have issues with some of these stories. So I think we're on the same page.
Okay, good. Because I know you were excited to get to this, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a
I agree with you that. Well, let's get into it.
yeah.
Issue 19 here. They are trying to find a new teacher. I'm trying to remember what teacher left.
I think it wasn't it Kitty.
No, Kitty doesn't leave yet. I think it was it Husk or no, Husk doesn't leave yet either. It was somebody that they lost during A versus X. I cannot remember who it is. Anyhow, Kitty is interviewing all these Marvel superheroes, trying to find a new teacher, and at the end they end up going with Storm. Storm comes back, and Storm and Kitty have a really long history together. They're all Kitty. Storm was kind of like Kitty's mentor, so it's nice to see them kind of back together. We also have Beast trying to save Brew's life. He's comatose, and they're removing the shrapnel from his brain, and they can't figure out how to wake him up. And then Wolverine is ticked off. He's trying to find the Hellfire brats.
And then Angel goes back to the company.
Yeah, Angel returns to Worthington Industries, overthrows the board of directors, and puts a bunch of students in charge, which is crazy. It's insane.
So I have a question because you got places like Stark Industries that are weapon manufacturers. You have Wayne Industries, which is kind of like R&D and technology. I've never known what Worthington Industries does. Like they're just big company.
Yeah, I'm googling it. I don't know. Well, it's finding a real Worthington Industries when I googled it. So
That's really funny. That's funny.
That is. Let's see, X Men. Created the mutant cure at one point.
That's right. So I guess I guess you could say that they are
pharmacy, maybe.
sure. They're like the House of Usher. I just watched that too.
It says aviation technology, of course, because you could fly.
I
Uh,
get it.
Alternative fuels, fancy frozen yogurts.
Okay, I mean that's the most interesting thing that you said.
Anyhow,
It's
uh,
like Bruce Wayne also owns Orange Julius.
yeah. So speaking of Angel, Angel's always been kind of a lame X-Men. Sorry for all you Angel fans. But I think Uncanny X-Force made him
Yeah,
interesting,
yeah,
and so I really like this Angel. At this point, he's kind of starting to think like as a normal person. He's not like a little kid anymore,
right, yeah,
mentally. But you find out that he only has limited powers. Like he could heal people, but once he runs out of energy, he'll probably die. So he's kind of on a ticking time clock. Um, I think this plot line largely gets dropped after this Wolverine X-Men run. There's a lot of plot lines that start here that just get dropped.
yeah. And
Uh,
so here's the thing. What I'm gonna do is something that I think every YouTube channel needs to do at some point, and I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to start some beef with another YouTuber.
oh, whoa,
Yep.
whoa, whoa! We didn't clear this with me. What's up?
No.
We're taking out.
Stories,
We're taking out
stories,
Final Monkey. He's going down.
stories like this
Mhm.
are why I vehemently disagree with Linkara about ongoing universes.
Okay, I've watched a couple Ikara videos, but I don't know too much about him. So
Linkara says that he doesn't like Elseworlds or um one shots, and he doesn't like resets. He just wants like one ongoing story forever. That's what he would prefer.
well, here's my beef. It's the editors. The editors back during the original Secret Wars when Jim Shooter was in charge, that they were the very tight editors. They made sure everything was running correctly.
And you know
Here,
what's funny? People didn't like Shooter, and I think that's probably a good thing. He
he
probably
was so strict, yeah,
was doing his job right.
right. And so these editors here, they should have control of. Okay, well, this is deal with Angel. Every writer has to follow this. Blah blah blah. And we're gonna get to it here in a minute. Obviously, Jason Aaron was setting up something with Kitty and Iceman. Go ahead and pull up the image I said for you to save last.
Oh,
The things to come.
all the way. Okay,
Yeah, all the way at the end.
there we go.
I didn't realize this, or maybe I forgot. Look at the character down there with Wolverine at the bottom. This is like preview of future events. That is Kitty and Iceman's kid. It's phasing through Wolverine. It's made of ice and it has claws.
Oh, and he's got a little T-shirt. It says Quentin was right.
Yeah. So obviously he
I
was
just noticed that he's got an oximeter on. That's so
yeah,
funny.
yeah. And then at the top you'll notice that kid Gladiator is with the Hellfire Academy. That didn't happen either. So you see that Jason Aaron had all these plans, and then editorials
Yeah.
blowing things up. There was
Well, I
there
mean,
was an edict that came down that said, "Well, Brian Michael Bendis wants to use Kitty Pryde, so you can't use her, and we're gonna make Iceman gay." And so Cartman once again.
step two. No. Look at this though. I didn't even notice this because that is Kitty's, child.
Yeah,
But that's also the Days of Future Past. Like they're doing the stance.
yeah. What is this story? We did not get this story. It looks like they might be coming out of the Siege Perilous. I don't know, but what is I'm so curious. Like I want to email Jason Aaron and say, "What is this picture?" Because obviously
So
you did not get to do this.
is that Azazel?
Yeah. Well, see, the Zazel stuff that happens after this. It goes to Astonishing X-Men. They do a Return of Nightcrawler storyline,
Okay.
which they were kind of setting up through this. If you've been paying attention with the Bamfs, and there's a mysterious hooded character that's been helping things out. That's Nightcrawler in heaven.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
there is one more little story that wraps up Jason Aaron's stuff with Nightcrawler and Azazel and the Bamfs. So that's the first like 5 or 6 issues of Astonishing X-Men, and then Jason Aaron leaves all the X-Men stuff at that point. He's gone at that point and goes over to Thor, I think.
And then he leaves Thor.
Yeah, and goes to Avengers, and then he's left Marvel completely. But
No,
yeah,
because he did Star Wars, and then he left Star Wars.
but this was how I wanted to end the show, but we're kind of already here. So let me just talk a little bit about what's going to happen with this run.
Yeah,
It's
well,
obvious.
here's this run is all over the place, so it's really hard to talk about it in order.
Yeah. In the middle of this run, Battle of the Atom happens, and basically what happened was they brought in Brian Michael Bendis to try to get the X-Men sales up. He brings back the X-Men from the 60s, and then they do a crossover where they meet the X-Men from the future also. There's 2 X-Men teams for the future. One happens to be the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants posing as X-Men. And they do this big storyline. And then at the end of that storyline, Kitty Pryde goes with the young X-Men because Brian Michael Bendis said, "Oh, I want to use that character." So it yanks it away from Jason Aaron.
Because he got a big crush on her.
Yeah. And then he makes her start dating Star-Lord.
Because Star-Lord is his self-insert.
It's so dumb. Gosh. Okay. So that happens. And then I think what happened was, they plan out Marvel storylines like a year in advance or 2 years in advance. They'll say,
and it doesn't show.
But they'll say this is the big storyline coming up. Just get all the writers in a room. And I think they got all the writers in a room. They said, okay, we're killing off Wolverine, the death of Wolverine. And I think Jason Aaron said, okay, I'm out. Because what are you going to do if your book is Wolverine the X-Men and about Wolverine running a school and they're killing off your main character?
Right.
I mean, you could get away with some stories, about students dealing with the loss and stuff. And I don't know if you know this book does continue after this. I have not read any of the issues after Jason Aaron left.
Yeah, I don't even know who wrote. I did know
I think
that.
it's Jeff Lemire, I want to say. But I think it lasts for like another 15 or so issues. I think it ends around the time of death of Wolverine.
Can I talk about how much I hate? I know we're supposed to be talking about this book, but it's kind of hard to talk about this book because the biggest problem with this book is everything that came after it.
So let's tie us back into our early conversation. What is happening in Disneyland is Disney has bought Marvel, and Fox has the rights to Fantastic Four and X-Men. So Ike Perlmutter said, we can't really push the X-Men line anymore. Kill off Wolverine. Kill off. We're going to promote the Inhumans now. And this really goes into the whole X-Men versus Inhuman stuff. And Cyclops gets killed off. And the X-Men line basically flounders for 2 or 3 years here. And this is kind of where I think this is the last, we both said there's probably these issues, the last good X-Men story. And then it just falls off a cliff.
Yeah. And then Hickman comes back and gives me hope.
And then Marvel editorial runs him off again. The problem is the editors. It really is. They don't let the writers tell the stories.
Can we make the first ever pop culture shark over under bet? How long is he on Ultimate Spider-Man?
A year.
A year. Okay, you think a year? So you think over? We'll say a year is a baseline. Over or under a year?
Maybe a year and a half, but that's pushing it.
I'm gonna go under. I don't think he makes it a year.
It's entirely possible. I think Hickman has good ideas. I think he's to a point where he's told his big Fantastic Four Avenger story that I think that he is just I'm not getting younger. I'm gonna get as many paychecks as I can from Marvel.
Sure.
And we're gonna get my retirement ready because he did the Marvel Gods thing, which is horrible. Well, I don't know if the story's horrible. I know the sales are horrible. I know nobody cares. um, but yeah, the as I was saying, the main problem here is the editors. They just have destroyed X-Men. They've brought in a lot of activist writers. To quote Cartman again, they've added a chick that made it gay, made it lame. Uh, I don't know if our viewers know about the Hellfire galas they've been having every year, but it's
Oh my
basically
gosh.
what's the name of that show? It's not Queer Eye, but it's the Fashion Runway. It's X-Men meets Fashion Runway, or whatever,
Operation Runaway or something like that.
something. But it's like
I'm
let
trying not to reveal too much e knowledge.
let me just find a picture of a Hellfire gala. Uh,
It is so. Let me talk about my biggest problem with Bendis on X-Men is the fact that he actually doesn't know anything about X-Men. And I stand by that.
so okay. For just a quick recap for our viewers who don't know who Bendis is. Bendis did a great Daredevil run, and a great Ultimate
Yes.
Spider-Man run.
Yes.
But anytime he has taken over someone else's book, he ruins their storylines every time. He's done that several times with Brian K. Vaughan. He ruined the Hood, like things that he set up with the Hood. He changed them all around.
He ruined Tomasi's Superman. Like that's his. I think ruining Tomasi's Superman is his biggest sin.
He also Guardians of the Galaxy. The way it ends, and we'll get to the Thanos imperative. Obviously, Bendis did not understand it, and the way he brings them back is just it's a mess. And
so whenever I say he knows nothing about X-Men, this is what I'm. It's so bad. It's so bad.
But okay, so they did this one June and said, "Look what we did! Yay!"
I
And
think
then
it was cool the first time. I think it
they
was cool
did it.
the first time.
They did it again the next year, and then the next year they did it 3 years in a row. At least the third year they blew everything up at the end, but still, what are you doing?
It's a waste of a month. That's what it is. But no. Here's what I mean. So Bendis, whenever he's writing, the all new X-Men, which is Kitty leading the young X-Men. Kitty is teaching Jean how to manifest and control her powers.
Don't get me started on young Jean. Young Jean is so terrible.
Hold on. So what happens is young Jean asks Kitty, how did you get so good at this? How did this happen? And Kitty says, I learned it from you. Jean was dead before Kitty even joined the team.
Oh yeah. Well, and then Kitty was on Excalibur. I don't know if they've ever been on a team.
They have no history. Brian Michael Bendis has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to X-Men.
And I this is gonna get us in so much trouble on YouTube. I don't care. This is the cardinal sin. This sequence. I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but this is the dialogue. Iceman says, "But," Jean goes, and Iceman goes, "What?" She goes, "Come on." Iceman goes, "What's happening?" She goes, "Bobby, you're gay." And then after a point, he's like, "Oh, you got me." And it's like, this is a person who could control your mind, and she's told you you're gay, and also you're gay after 50 years of not being gay in the comic books.
Well, and here's the thing. Let's talk about the morality. You have just gaslit and outed someone.
Right.
That is not cool.
Even if he is a gay character, Jean is horrible here.
Yeah.
This is such a character assassination of Jean Grey. because at the end of this, I don't know if you know how the storyline ends. This is the X-Men from the 60s. They go back, and this was, something that she actually did. It is, okay. Let's run through real quick the storylines in Wolverine the X-Men.
Yeah, I don't think this is going the way that
No,
you.
but it's not. But I think this is good because
Yeah.
we need to talk about, because I think both of us love the X-Men. We are both
Yes.
very passionate about the X-Men, and you're seeing what started out as a great comic book that just fell apart because Marvel can't stop being Marvel.
Part of me, because I actually like, because we talk about how there are two sides to this. There's Wolverine and the X-Men, and then if you want to follow Cyclops after Schism and AVX, then you go to Uncanny. From what I remember, I like Uncanny better than this, but now I'm scared to go back to Uncanny.
So basically, if you go back a frame, Angel goes on a recruitment mission, recruits a new girl named Shark Girl. Kind of an interesting character, a girl that can turn into a shark, and she has trouble controlling her shark form. Kind of also a silly character,
Well, I mean, like, how much do you think that that's a reference to Robert Rodriguez, like Shark Boy and Lava Girl?
Perhaps. But this
and he gets I will say he gets in a cool fight with Mystique and Silver Samurai. It's really cool.
Yeah, and this is the first hints that the bad guys are recruiting kids also. Like Wolverine School is not the only school out there.
Let me just say, this is the stuff in Wolverine and X-Men that I like.
Yeah.
Like the X-Men are recruiting kids, and it's like, both sides are going across the globe, trying to boost their numbers between the Hellfire Academy and Jean Grey School.
Yeah, it reminds me of what was that cartoon, X-Men Evolution or whatever?
Yeah, no, it definitely, this is so much like X-Men Evolution, and I loved X-Men Evolution.
Yeah. So next we get a weird story where the teachers at the school all disappear and they end up in a circus where they've all been brainwashed. And it turns out this is Frankenstein's circus. This story is weird, but it's also a reference to an old Chris Claremont story where the X-Men all got brainwashed into a circus being ran by Mesmero and Magneto. So this has happened before. So I think this is kind of like Jason Aaron's tribute to that.
And I can appreciate that. I forgot about that story, but I can appreciate it.
Yeah, so I think this is a reference to that, but it's a weak story. It's not my favorite. We do get more of the one Hellfire kid's background, that he is a descendant of the Frankensteins, and his backstory is a little sad. But yeah, not my favorite story at all. But this is you're starting to see Quentin Quire have to take charge and start being a hero at this point.
I mean, he's the best character to come out of this.
Oh yeah,
and they do nothing with him.
I mean, he's been like one of the main characters in the current X-Force run after Krakoa. But yeah, it's anyhow. Let's go on to the next page here. So the Frankenstein story wraps up, and then we get this weird scene where Storm cuts off her hair and gets the mohawk back and starts making out Wolverine, and then the story goes nowhere. It's just bizarre. What are your thoughts on Storm and Wolverine as a couple? And
I could probably get behind it in like a Days of Future Past or a Age of Apocalypse. Like it's one of those things that's like it's like going to an alternate dimension and Spock and Uhura are together.
Yeah, it's weird. The other thing that's going on during this period is there's a character named Husk. Her power is to rip off her skin, and then she has like a different body underneath. So like she can rip off her skin, have a metal body, or rip that skin off and have a body of fire.
Just things. She's like Absorbing Man, but like way more painful.
Yeah, and so she's having mental issues every time she rips off her skin. Her personality is changing, and we have Toad, who's the janitor, who has fallen in love with her.
Mhm.
Um, but there's something clearly wrong with her, and it's very it's weird. It's a sweet yet really creepy story. like Toad is taking her skin and making like a shrine to her and stuff.
Here's the thing. This is a I think this is an Archie comic through and through. Like just in general. Um, so if I were to compare this to something um, that DC does, this is very much their Teen Titans. I think Teen Titans does it better though.
Yeah, yeah. What this book does do that I like is it takes all these X-Men concepts and pokes fun at them, and
Yes,
I
yes.
really enjoy that. By the way, do we know what that Latin is at the top
Um,
on the title?
it reminds me. It reminds me of. I'm gonna look it up, but it reminds me of. Do you remember Community? The El Pluribus Anus. Oh, sick.
It brought up a Celine Dion song. What did I type in?
You typed it in correctly. Do what you want.
Do whatever you want. Okay. All
Okay,
right.
I could see that. Yeah, yeah. No, that Hellfire Academy.
Do
That
what you want. That
very
yeah.
fitting. Very
Okay.
fitting. I like that.
The fact that
Uh,
it's a Celine Dion song.
oh, I just noticed that the for Jean Grey School, theirs is the best there is at what we do. I mean, that's Wolverine's thing. Like, I'm
Yeah,
the best
yeah.
there is.
But I always like these little bonus pages where it lists the different classes and field trips and stuff. I think they're really funny.
I mean,
Um,
like, can we be honest? That was like the coolest part about House of X Powers of 10 is like the whole having an X-Men decoder ring, having to decode uh his language that he made up.
oh, the other thing this book did, and I don't know if you realize this, oh, because I didn't mention it when it started. All these X-Men characters all had Twitter accounts, and they were all posting about every issue that came out. They would talk about like from their point of view on Twitter and stuff.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, but then I think they dropped it after a while. Like, oh, this is way too much to keep up with.
It really is. It really is.
um, so this storyline, Heidi leaves because she feels guilty about Brew getting shot, and she wants to find out who shot him. Uh, Glob Herman also leave. We've skipped a story. Savage
Yeah.
Land. We got these out of order. The X-Men go on a field trip to Savage Land. They run into Wolverine's brother, who
Not Sabretooth.
yeah, but Dog decides that he wants to be a better teacher than Wolverine. And he's trying to teach all these kids. We get two more new characters, Sprite and Eyeboy. What do you think of Eyeboy? Let me ask you that.
Uh, if I'm being honest, he really didn't leave a whole lot of impression on me. So
I think he's really lame until you see him in the future. And then the
yeah,
future, he's got the guns, and he's like their watchtower guy, and he could see like everything, like his eye powers. He can see magic. He can, and I think I have a picture of him. There's a picture of him firing the guns. If you,
I mean, I kind of yeah. Let me get to that. Um, but these are definitely keeping these in order is so difficult. There he
yeah,
is.
yeah. So the guy at the bottom left corner, that's Eyeboy. He has eyes all over his body. Um, and they kind of set up at the end that he's becoming a marksman and he might be a cool character. Well, he's still around the Krakoa era and he's lame. He is. They have Cartmaned him pretty hard. He's in the New Mutants book, and yeah, what Jason Aaron was
Yeah.
set up to be a cool character, they've totally scrapped.
I think the big reason why he didn't stick with me is because like so I'm gonna forever compare this book to Teen Titans,
Yeah,
and I mean like just kind of reminds me. There's a character in Teen Titans who is a part of the Hive Five called Seymour.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, the joke is what you think it means.
So go back a couple images real quick. Um,
Oh wait, that's the one you were looking for, wasn't it?
yeah, where he's shooting everything. Yeah, you find he's a marksman. Yeah, let's just stay on one of these two pictures.
Yeah.
I really love these characters, even if the execution sucks. Even like I want to see more of these characters, but the problem is this book has a generic name. Like it's not New Mutants or Generation X or X Force. So if I'm like, oh hey, did you ever check out Wolverine the X-Men? Nobody knows what the heck you're talking about.
Well, and if you look it up on Google or YouTube, you're gonna get the show.
Yeah, because there's a cartoon called Wolverine the X-Men. So if these had been called like the X Kids or just something generic, they would at least have a team name that you could refer to.
I think they should have leaned into the Hellfire Brats and called them the X Brats.
Something, anything, because right now they have no name, and so I think you'll never see this team again, ever. I think that I mean they've all kind of gone their separate ways, and it's frustrating.
I mean, it's the problem with comic books. Like whenever like you've got a big line like X-Men, and you've got like 10 different books, or like you've got an Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales Spider-Man. Like
there's a video I've wanted to do called Marvel's Teenage Wasteland, and there are so many throwaway teenage teams and characters they've done over the years that have just been forgotten. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of characters. And
Spectrum, Snowflake.
Gosh, that book didn't even come out. It was so bad.
Did it not even come out? I didn't know that.
To my knowledge, it's never been released. They announced that like 3 years ago, and it got pushed back during the pandemic and then never came out. So I think it got quietly canceled.
New Warriors, okay.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's they go to Savage Land. They have a field trip. Then ID, Quentin Quire, and Brew all join the Hellfire Academy. I think the Hellfire Academy is hilarious. It's like the polar opposite of the Wolverine school. You have classes being taught by Mystique and Sauron, Master Pandemonium, who's an old Avengers West Coast villain. Just wacky stuff. And it's really funny.
There's a character called the Philistine, which is funny.
Yes. And the recruits, they're trying to find the New Mutants, but they're lame. They have a kid that's this like hillbilly kid, this mud bug. He's like a crawdad.
You know what kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of. Did you ever watch? Did you ever watch like Zoom with Tim Allen?
I have not seen Zoom now.
Okay. So not Zoom. Let's go.
Sky High.
Sky High. Yeah.
Where the one kid turned into a gerbil or something. It's like, okay, that's really useful. Thanks.
It's like whenever Zack Attack, who glows in the dark, he's like, one time Coach Boomer's gonna be in the parking lot. It's gonna be real dark. He's gonna drop his keys, and I'm not gonna be there to help him.
Or it's like Mystery Man, the invisible boy. That's like, well, I can turn invisible as long as you're not looking at me.
Hello, I am Pencilhead, and I am son of Pencilhead. And then Smash Mouth just comes out. R.I.P. But Smash Mouth comes out.
Yeah. So Brew does wake up from his coma, and he's like a little feral dog.
It's like. Do they ever explain? I don't remember if they ever explained specifically why. Like, I get it, but I don't know if they ever like was like, and this is what happened.
Well, he gets shot in the head, and so he reverts to a feral brood, and he's like that for a while until he bites one of the Bamfs, and the Bamfs have like healing blood in them because it's part of Nightcrawler, his healing blood or something, and so that heals his brain, which is. If you read the book, Angel straight up said, "Hey, I could cure Brew," and Beast said, "No, we don't want to take you to your life force." It's so lame because he could have totally healed Brew like way earlier on, and it's very frustrating. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Hellfire section. The
I
Hellfire
do too.
Brats tried to make Idy their Black Queen, which is kind of weird because she's like what, like 14 or 15, and she's like wearing the Black Queen outfit. It's kind of
I
bizarre.
I still don't get how, because like I looked into some other people's opinions on this book, and I don't get how people say that their least favorite part about the book is the Hellfire Brats. I'm like, they are like the most fun part.
You know, people want X-Men to be super serious all the time, and the Hellfire Club was a very serious threat to the X-Men. So
So
it's kind of like mocking that, you know. So
and here's the thing: I've actually never been like I've always found the Hellfire Club to be kind of like whatever villains to me. Like they're not who I think of when I think of X-Men villains.
I feel like if you read those early Claremont issues, that's when the X-Men books really starts to click. Is around the Hellfire Club
Sure.
part. So I mean, that's really the first real big threat the X-Men face in that run. So I think that's why they're so beloved. Um, Anywho, Brew gets healed. They return to the school. Shield shows up, and they
One more thing. Can we talk about how the first period is called Introduction to Evil? like, like I feel like I'm watching Billy and Mandy or something. It's really
it's
funny.
so it the whole Hellfire Academy thing. It's so over the top and ridiculous, and I, I think I think it's hilarious the classes, but the classes at X-Men are also ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like they have a whole class that's just studying the different timelines, the alternate, you know, the
yeah.
multiverse and stuff. I mean
So,
that's so funny.
but before we move on to Shield and graduation, explain to me Siege Perilous. I didn't get that.
So that is a gift that was from Merlin, I want to say, to the X-Men. They get attacked by the Reavers in the 80s when they were living in the Australian outback. And the X-Men all step through the Siege Perilous, the portal, and they all appear in different parts of the world with their memories erased and they're transformed. So like Psylocke ends up in her Asian body, Colossus ends up as an amnesiac painter in America somewhere. Like everybody got changed when they went through the Siege Perilous. It was the only way they could escape from the Reavers.
And so Philistine got his powers
From
from that.
from that, and they're trying to use it again, but for some reason it doesn't work on Quentin Quire, and it's never really explained. Yeah, that's old X-Men stuff lore,
X-Men is I love X-Men.
but
It's
it's
so
complicated.
it's so stupid. Can I just say the best adaptation of X-Men that represents the comics perfectly is NBC's Heroes. That
Uh,
is that is a perfect adaptation.
Here's a funny thing about Siege Perilous, because around that time is when Claremont left the book. Longshot went through. You remember Longshot, right?
Yeah.
He went through the Siege Perilous, and then you just never saw him for the rest of the Claremont run, and then Gambit shows up. So there's a theory online for a long time that Gambit was intended to be Longshot, what happened to him after he went through the Siege Perilous.
Okay.
They both have luck powers, but it seems like Gambit's like a darker version of Longshot. I don't know. Just throwing it out there, a little tidbit that I don't know if it's true or not, but you can make the connection that Gambit was intended to be Longshot.
Okay, I can see that.
Because if you look what happened during that time, Psylocke went through the portal, totally changed. Like they were all totally changing into different people when they went through that portal.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gambit shows up a few issues later. And they never mention Longshot again until Lobdell takes over the book. But anyhow, yeah, let's just click through some of these pictures real quick. This was from one of the early issues back there, what this team would look like in the future. And I still wish that we would get to this future sometime.
This future kind of reminds me of so Batman number 666 shows a future where Apocalypse is happening,
Mhm.
and Damian Wayne is Batman, and so I kind of got the vibe here,
So, so
similar.
let's mention the Shield story real quick. It doesn't matter. The Shield story is dumb. The part of the Shield story that matters is Wolverine goes on a mission and ends up running into Cyclops, and they don't fully patch things up, but this is the closest to a patch up you'll get after Schism.
Yeah.
They kind of
Mm,
bury the hatchet, and they're like, yeah, we're still going to disagree, but you know what? We're still kind of on the same side. You know.
they, you know, you can't cut out family forever.
Yeah, yeah. We're still family. We're going to disagree, but we're still and after this point, like I said, Wolverine's going to die in a few months, and the Cyclops is going to die fighting the Inhuman Cloud. The Cloud is going to kill him, and God, this book goes downhill so hard. um, but one of the things this book keeps doing is it keeps jumping forward in time, showing the school like 50 years in the future, or 30 years in the future, or whatever, of an old man Wolverine still running the school. And I like this future. It's it's kind of a hopeful future. This is usually when you see the X-Men future, it's the Sentinels have killed everybody, the X-Men are dying, everybody's in camps or whatever. But this is a future where, hey, you know what? It hasn't been a perfect life, but we made the best of it. We've the schools ran. We've changed a lot of lives, and there's hope for the mutants.
Yeah, and that's I wish the run itself was better, because I mean you could end X-Men right here.
Yeah, the final issue, they're having a graduation ceremony, and Quentin Quire, who started out the book as a terrorist, that's being forced to go to the school, they give him a diploma saying basically saying you've proved that you could be an X-Man, and he hates it. He's like, no, I'm supposed to be the rebel. And we keep seeing glimpses of the future where Wolverine's about to close down the school, and then Quentin visits him, and you see it. Quentin is now a hero. He's the Phoenix, and I just think it's nice. It's a real nice ending, and I don't know if there's a scene during the graduation where we see oh shoot, what is her name? The girl that's the head of Sword, Abigail Brand. Is that her name?
Yes, Abigail Brandt.
She's there representing Bruce's parents, and you see a Phantom X there representing Evan's parents. So that's kind of where we started with Evan. All this started with Evan, and now you're seeing that Evan is graduating. That there's hope that he's not going to become Apocalypse. And I don't know if you're paying attention in the future when Wolverine's walking through the school and it's empty. There's a picture of Evan on the wall, like he's one of their success stories.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's little details like that are really, I really love Evan. Evan's one of my favorite characters. A kid who's cloned from one of the worst mutants of all time. And here's is it nature versus nurture argument. If you raise him right, will he become a great thing? And he becomes like this, he had potential to become this great hero. And I know other writers have dropped that storyline, but I really like it. But in the future, it ends with Wolverine's about to close the school, and then Quentin Quire ends up dropping off more kids from the negative zone, more mutant kids, and the school continues. And it gives this hopeful, like, you know what, things are a mess, but it's going to work out. Now, of course, all this gets dropped immediately by the next writers, by Jonathan Hickman. Will they ever get back to the point where Wolverine's running a school? I doubt it, but it could happen.
No, they love Wolverine not playing by the rules too much.
Yeah, so I don't know. You kind of get this glimpse of if Jason Aaron got to have his way, this is how things would have ended. But when you write for Marvel, you kind of sign away the characters and you lose control of them. I mean, we see Claremont set all this stuff up, and he lost control. Peter David set up all these Hulk storylines, and then they changed everything. the one guy was on Spider-Man recently. I cannot think of his name, but he always,
Nate Spencer.
yeah, he always plans for Pete and Mary Jane to get back together and to fix everything, and Marvel immediately undid it. And so I think this we'll kind of wrap it up this way. I think this is the problem with Marvel Comics and DC Comics as a whole, is that when you have multiple writers and editors writing a book, there's no cohesive story. You don't know where to begin, where it ends. It's like this story that's never going to end. And I think stories need to have an end sometime. There should be a final X-Men storyline, and then you can reboot everything. Um,
Yeah, Linkara.
I think that's why manga works, like One Piece works, is it's one person creating it. And sure, it's 1,000 chapters long or whatever, but it's one person's vision from beginning to end. When he finishes, there will be an ending. And you'll have one great story. And so you look at things like, I think Spider-Man's, something like that's okay, where you can kind of, it's more like serial type story, not serial storylines, but you can have almost a monster of the week type story with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But something like X-Men, where it's this massive storyline you've been telling forever, it really it needs one vision and it needs an ending. And I think we were kind of getting one person's vision when Hickman took over, and then they just got way too many chefs in the kitchen, too many cooks, and then the endless theme
Someone
song
was someone was making this noodles, someone was making frosting, and someone was making broccoli, and it didn't work out. You don't put those things together.
Yeah, the Adult Swim to be cooked started, and the intro just went on forever. But yeah, I don't know. I X-Men deserves better. X-Men always
So
deserves better.
let me ask you this, because I remember that you were really excited that we were going to be getting to this. Has your opinion changed on this after rereading?
The second half is rough. I think the first half is pretty good. I think once Brew gets shot, the there's some shining spots, like some good parts. Bringing back Dog from the early storyline, I think that is interesting, but they don't quite fully deliver on that. I think if you had ended it at Hellfire Academy and then kind of skipped the Shield story and just had that final graduation issue, it might have read better. Yeah, it just feels like there was a lot more planned and it all got messed up.
Yeah. And that's why I want to get into Annihilation, because I haven't read all of what we're going to be reading. I've read no, I've read Annihilation itself, and I've read Abnett's Nova. But from what I can tell, is everything we're going to be reading is decently good and has a definitive ending.
It's all very solid until you get the Thanos imperative at the end, and then it feels like Marvel said, "Okay, this has the end," and so they had to wrap it up real quick.
Which is better than this, I guess.
Right, but the two main books were Nova and Guardians of the Galaxy, and they were both being written by Abnett Lanning. So you had and I think Andy Schmidt was the editor, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So you had one cohesive vision. You didn't have too many people, too many books. They would plan a crossover every year or an event, and it all flowed very well together. And it just worked. And yeah, so it does have I guess my problems with Thanos Imperative is I didn't want it to end. and it ends. I think that's my biggest problem with it. Because I was like, oh, this is so great. And then it's like, okay, we got to end it all. And there could have been so many more storylines. But I guess our point is Marvel needs to get their act together in the MCU, in the comic books. It's just it's frustrating. And you know who's in charge of Marvel Comics? I don't know if you know this. Who's in
No,
charge of? It's Kevin Feige. He is in charge of the comic books also.
really?
Yeah, when Ike was kicked out, because Ike was kind of like the head of the comic division, and so when he got kicked out, it all went under Kevin Feige. So I think he's in charge, but he has nothing to do with it, and he's just letting them run it into the ground. And the I don't know what Wolverine the X-Men sold, like how many copies, but I'm sure it's like 5 times more than what they're currently selling. It has to be. And so you see that they killed the storyline to bring in Bendis, and it just I don't know. So I still like this run overall, but it's definitely flawed. It's not as tight and cohesive as Uncanny X-Force. I think Uncanny X-Force is darn near perfect.
Uncanny X-Force, I think, is the best that X-Men has ever been.
It is just a very solid story from being in. Now there is a sequel, Uncanny Avengers, that is not as good. That's also by Rick Remender. We did not read that here, but kind of picks up some of the threads from Uncanny X-Force. And I'm not a big Avengers guy to begin with. But you can see that Rick Remender is getting frustrated with Marvel as you're reading through that, and you see them run him off.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just this problem, and I think it's the same with DC Comics. We're picking on Marvel, but DC Comics is just the same, where it's just the people. There needs to be a cleansing at MCU and at Marvel and at Lucasfilm. They just need to fire a lot of people. Just completely clear house. And they need to, if I was the MCU, I'd fire a lot of people, and then I'd bring in classic storytellers, your Claremonts, your John Burns, your Chuck Dixons, your whatever, and let them consult on the movies and say, okay, this is what you need to do to.
And here's the thing: you also need to bring in new blood who are malleable,
right?
To learn from.
Well, you need to bring in good storytellers that don't have an agenda. They're just here to tell good stories.
Yeah.
I think if you did that, and then you had a good editor that has like a single vision, here's what we're doing, and stick to it. And I don't think you can give a writer just complete control over a book, but you keep them reined in a little bit, but you also have it all set up when you're going into it, so you're not just killing storylines. Because obviously there were some really cool storylines that are often planned by these writers that just get killed by editorial, and then you're like, why did they do that? The book doesn't make sense now. There's these plot lines that just go nowhere, and I don't know. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating because I want to love the stories. I want this to be the greatest X-Men run ever. And it had a lot of potential, but then you just see, things fall apart. Anything you want to add?
This is a lot more somber than I thought this was going to go, but we're here. We're here.
We're here. Yeah. We are here. I forgot about Battle of the Atom and some stuff. So I read stuff and then I don't read it again for several years. And then we can revisit. You're like, oh, I forgot about that part, or oh yeah, I forgot there's Squid Girl and Try Joey and all that. And it's like, okay. But yeah, I think that it's all Bendis' fault. That's what I want to say.
Bendis ruined Marvel and DC. It's amazing. I don't know how he did it.
Yeah. We could do a whole show about people who ruined Marvel, but I mean, Bendis would be way at the top of the list.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so here's the thing. With DC, it all starts with them aging John up, and
Mm-hmm.
that was Bendis.
Yep. Yeah. Um,
Everything that has gone wrong with DC started with them aging John up and not being a kid anymore.
so let me ask you this: Jonathan Hickman, when he was doing Fantastic Four and Avengers, probably about it's been 10 years ago, he wrapped everything up in Secret Wars, and it's kind of like a perfect ending spot for Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they should have rebooted and restarted everything at that point?
Yes.
I agree, but also I don't think that the current writers could have pulled it off. Like, I think you would have to find better writers to relaunch your universe.
I mean, honestly, I think that I think they would have at least done better than they're doing now.
Oh, well, everything is so Cartman driven. And we're going to start saying Cartman driven. Everything is, it is literally add a chick in it, make it gay, make it lame. Everything. I mean, there's probably a handful of books that are not like that. But for the most part, everything is so agenda driven at Marvel and DC. I mean,
NBC.
that it is totally unreadable. It is they have ran off all the readers, and it's weird because when Joe Quesada was removed as editor in chief, they brought in Axel Alonso. That's when you really start to see that new Marvel start, and you see the sales start to drop, and they're bringing in like Miss Marvel, and they're starting to bring in all these. They're starting to change things like a Gwenpool and all these lame characters. And so what's weird is you saw this happen, you saw the sales drop, and then you see the MCU go, "Oh, those are great ideas. We're going to do all those." And it's like, did you not just see the sales drop and all the audience leave? Why are you following these steps? And some people would argue that there was an edict somewhere saying that we have to make new characters because we don't want to share profits with the original copyright owners. Like this, we don't want the Stan Lee estate or the Jack Kirby estate or the Joe Simon estate or whatever.
I buy that, you know.
I do too, because just look at the Daredevil Netflix series. They did not want to continue those Daredevil Netflix storylines because they didn't want to pay any of the profits back to the original Daredevil Netflix writers. Because if they use like their Kingpin or their this or their that, their Foggy Nelson, they would have to pay them residuals or whatever royalties, and they did not want to. Disney does not like to share profits with anybody.
Yep. I've already decided what I'm going to do whenever Born Again eventually comes out, if it ever comes out. Because I still haven't watched season 3 of Daredevil. As everyone else is watching Born Again, I'm just going to watch season 3 of Daredevil.
This is yeah.
Well, no, and I'm gonna have conversations with people, and I'm like, wait, are we watching the same show?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the Trial of the Incredible Hulk. I'll be like, what are you talking about?
yeah. I was about to make a joke, but I can't even think of the actor's name.
Bill Bixby.
Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
Like he was in Born Again. I was like, I think so.
I think so. Stan Lee was on the jury. Did you see that scene?
CG's getting amazing.
So tonight's show has kind of been all over the place. This was definitely not the show I was planning on doing, but as we started to get into it, it's
so
clear
is this run.
that this runs all over the place. And I think it is time for us to take a break from X-Men.
Yeah.
Other than maybe going back and reading X Factor, there's nothing else I really want to read X-Men wise right now.
Yeah. Even reading through this, I'm just thinking about Annihilation. Like we made that plan, and I'm like, man, I kind of just want to read Annihilation right now.
Yeah. we're planning on doing Annihilation. We also are eventually going to get to Astro City. I bought that for you last year. I need to get
Yeah.
a copy because I think um, that is something that's created by Kurt Busiek, I think is his name.
Kurt Busiek, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's one person's vision of a superhero universe.
Mhm.
So everything flows very well together. Um, so I think that'll be interesting to see how that's different from Marvel or DC. So, but that's our show for tonight. Next week, I guess we're doing Disney Fallout. We'll see what happens this week. We
Yeah.
may change that depending on if nothing happens Disney wise, then we'll change that. But if you've been watching the news with Disney, it is literally something new every day that's been happening for
Do you think
weeks
they'll
now.
do you think they'll talk about the South Park thing?
I don't think they will intend to bring it up, but it doesn't stop anybody on the phone from bringing it up when they have the
Yeah.
questions from the stockholders and stuff. One of them could definitely bring it up. Um, I think that they're going to mainly focus on, like, if I'm Disney, we're talking about selling Hulu. They're selling their India part of their Disney Plus stuff. I think they're going to focus on that, and like probably like the new Tiana ride at Disney. They'll probably focus on that, and they'll try to focus on the things that are going well, if you can consider anything going well, and try to put that spin on it. Um, and then they'll say, "Oh, Ahsoka was the biggest show on Disney Plus this year," which is not true because Bluey beats it every week. According to WWE Pro, Bluey like blows it out of water. It's not even close.
And that I buy as well.
Well, I think Gilmore Girls is beating Ahsoka and stuff. It's crazy. Um, yeah, it's a mess. So, all right, we have been rambling all over the place tonight. So I think it's time to wrap this up. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And so another thing that we're gonna do for Annihilation that I think will help is we're gonna be reading stuff in somewhat of a we're gonna be reading everything and then in somewhat of a sequential order.
yeah, and even when you say everything, it's kind of one story though.
Yeah.
So like everything is focusing on the annihilation wave and stuff. So it all goes together and flows much better than this, where it was jumping all over the place. So
This is the one thing where I'm excited that we're reading the um oh my gosh, I'm horrible. What are they called? The not the add-on issues, the
the tie-in issues.
tie-ins, yeah.
Yeah,
This is the one thing where I'm excited that we're reading tie-ins.
yeah. Okay. So next week we will be doing a live cat stream also during the show.
Yes,
We're
of course.
it'll be me having allergic reactions to a cat for an hour. I'll just be over
And
here.
then it'll just be my reactions to Cats the musical, the movie. I'll just be singing Jason Derulo songs and throwing the tomatoes every time James Corden shows up.
Will it be the butthole cut of the Cats movie or the non-butthole cut? Have you heard about that?
There's a non-butthole cut?
When they initially made the movie, I think the cats had buttholes that were distracting, so they digitally altered them or something.
It's kind of like whenever Watchmen came out and Dr. Manhattan's dingling was too big, so they had to shrink it for the home video.
Boy,
Maybe we should. Genitalia is hard to do in media, so maybe we should just not do that.
well, we've definitely been flagged on YouTube now, so let's go ahead and wrap it up before we get flagged anymore. If you've enjoyed this nonsense, tune in next week. We'll be back at was it 4 o'clock your time, 4 o'clock Eastern.
Yep, 4 o'clock Eastern.
And until then, I've been Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and we'll talk to you later. See ya.
See ya.